Afternoon, everybody. Super Bowl betting preview powered by the Sharp app. I'm Mark Drumheller here with Dave Gleckner. And Dave, we're finally here a few days away before the conclusion of the NFL season. We have one more game to bet on. We've been talking about it for 2 straight weeks. So I want to give the people, just our thoughts. We talked about it last week, kind of where we're leaning. Not much has changed. As far as the odds are concerned, right? Philadelphia kind of feels like they're standing in cement here as a 1.5 point favorites across the board. That doesn't look like it's going anywhere. You would think at this point it might have. Maybe we see some movement on game day. But I don't think we're going to see too much. Definitely not anything kind of pushing this to the key number of 3 or anything like that. And then, the total creeping up a little bit. I think it was at 50.5 last week. Now it's at 51. Perfect weather conditions, indoor climate, explosive offenses. I can kind of understand it. I have a different take on that. But, we pretty much know where we're at. So, now we're going to take a couple minutes, fire off on the game. We're going to talk about side and total. We're going to talk about MVP. We're going to talk about a couple props for you guys to get your bets in. But listen, if you have not yet, make sure you download the app and hop into Discord. Those links are in the description below. Our professional handicappers killing the prop game in the NBA right now. Top props article comes out every day with a bunch of winners. College basketball, we're hitting the hardwood as well. We're going to continue rolling after the football season, but get in there now and get all the Super Bowl bets that we have going on as well. So, Dave, the time has come. Let's get to the action, my man. Eagles, Chiefs, one big game, 4 quarters. Eagles slight favorite at 1.5. Personally, I just played the money line. I went Eagles money line on this one, pretty straight up. How are you feeling about it? Did you play the spread? Did you lay the 1.5, or did you go money line, or did you play a side at all?
Yeah, so right now, I had a ticket for 22-1 to win the Super Bowl in the Philadelphia Eagles. Bet that in August. So I went light on the number when it was 1. I got it 1.5. I'm sorry. And so early on, saw a little shift, came back, it settled right at 1.5. So I got a small ticket on 1.5 Eagles, but I'm primarily money line with you when I'm looking at, a 22-1 Super Bowl ticket. But here's the thing, looking at this game, and when you can break it down so many different ways, and we know players win the game and coaches will, obviously be somewhat of an impact on it. But if we look at the stats, you're talking in DVOA, KC 1 on offense, Eagles 3. But the biggest gap, Philly 6th on defense, KC 17th. Even more importantly, 15th against the rush. Let's reel it back a little bit deeper. Red zone DVOA, KC 26th. Red zone defense DVOA, 28th against the pass. Philly is 9th red zone offense DVOA. I just think there are enough gaps in this game and enough, everybody's going to say, oh, the Eagles are more talented. Whatever, right? The fact of the matter is they just have a little bit more edge in some areas that I think they're going to be able to pull away in this game. And I think they're the good enough team to almost win, front to back. I think they could be leaders from the start and really control the pace of this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's their win condition, right? Like if they're going to win the game, they have to start fast. If they get down in a hole in this game, I think they're in a lot of trouble. And I think the bettors that are siding with Kansas City are doing it in the fact that, hey, they think this is going to be a close game in the fourth quarter. Who's the guy you want? You want Patrick Mahomes, right? That makes a ton of sense. But I'm kind of on your page. I feel like there's enough advantages here for the Eagles to get out to a fast early start. They actually lead the NFL in first touchdown drives, first drives, converting those into touchdowns over 50%, 10 of 19 times this season they've done that. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for them to do it in this game. We'll talk about that when we hit the props a little bit later. But, they're going to be able to run all over Kansas City. Kansas City has not faced a team in top 13 rushing DVOA all year. They let up 7 yards per carry to Jacksonville running backs in that divisional round. Got a little bit of break with the Cincinnati offensive line. But Clev Analytics had some great stats just in regards to the Kansas City run defense. 22nd in EPA. When Eagles faced bottom 11 teams in EPA this year, they rushed for an average of 213 yards. So there's just a lot out there as far as in general. Kansas City doesn't do a good job of contacting running backs before the line of scrimmage. Eagles excel at kind of pushing people off the ball. So there's a lot of stats out there that say the Eagles are going to have their way at the running game, and that makes me believe they'll get on the board early. You talked about Kansas City's red zone defense. KC's actually 30th in opponent touchdown conversion rate. So
Right.
when they red zone, they're allowing touchdowns all the time. I think that plays into the Eagles here too. I just think, as a whole, I think the game is going to be decided in the trenches more than it's going to be decided on Mahomes. And I think the Eagles are going to have a pretty comfortable lead in the second half. And then I think Mahomes is going to make it tight and we're going to sweat a little bit. But I picked 28-20. I think that's kind of like a fair score. That probably kind of leads into a conversation we can have about the total. But I see that's where this one's going.
So I'm not far off from you. Add an extra 3 to the Eagles. I'm 31-20, which puts you right on that magic number of the total right now.
On the fence. On the fence.
Yeah, but it gets it really interesting because total open, what? I want to say 49.5, 50, right around there. So early takers win with my number.
Oh, absolutely.
Late takers probably
lose.
lose.
The number.
Yeah, and then Vegas is probably partying on both sides, right? So, I mean, I do feel like this one's going to fall very close to the number from a total perspective, but I think the Eagles are good enough. And if they're able to get a lead, like you said, and play with margin, because they did that in the NFC Championship and NFC Divisional round, getting up 7-0 versus both teams early. What did the Giants do when they were down 7-0? Go for ill-advised, 4th and 8 from
started panicking,
panic. And I think the Niners started doing that a little bit as well. And to that point, KC could too. I mean, KC, would they have 3 points without 2 minutes left in the first half against Cincinnati? They had 10 points against San Francisco in the Super Bowl with 7 minutes left in the game, scored the last 21. Scored 9 altogether in the Tampa Bay Super Bowl. They're not a team that comes out of the gates fast. And when you don't come out of the gates fast against Philadelphia, that's a bad omen.
Yeah, so I think the Eagles are going to pounce on them early. And that's really, but if they're able to do that and control the ball on offense, I think that really plays into a couple things, right? It allows them to kind of keep Mahomes on the sidelines, and it also allows them to keep that defensive line fresh. And I think that's the most important thing because, we've seen in past Super Bowls, if you get pressure on Mahomes, you can kind of impact him and, make him uncomfortable. And I think especially the way the Eagles defensive line is constructed with 2 tackles that, Hargraves and Cox have a combined 20 sacks together. So them being able to collapse the interior of the pocket and getting the edge pressure as well doesn't really give Mahomes that mobility that he typically has, especially in a bad ankle. I think you're going to see him like rolling out a lot to his left, having to throw across his body. But I think Kansas City's going to be competitive. Yes. I think Reed will cook up the screen game. And it'll be lots of quick throws, lots of screens. But I think ultimately when I look at these two defenses and say like, which defense is going to be able to step up and make the negative plays, force the turnovers. It's another area the Eagles have a huge advantage, plus 12 on turnover margin this year. Kansas City is flat at 0. So I just think it's the Eagles defense that does that and gets that, makes the plays when they have to at the end of the game.
I think it's great. Let me ask you one other question, because one of the biggest angles I'm taking coming into this game is the coaching. And what I've known about Andy Reid is he loses big games consistently. Yeah, he's won the championship game here and there with Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes, but really he should be 0-3 in the Super Bowl. We've talked about that 49ers game many times. I've rewatched it. And even last week, I think he gets bailed out. I think he gets bailed out in the Buffalo game and then loses to Cincinnati a week later in the AFC Championship, gets bailed out in the New England game a few years ago when they're offsides, but the game's over if they don't go offsides. New England wins in Kansas City. So, I know he's 28-4 over after a bye, and I know a lot of people are taking this angle like he's this savant, but we've known him. Is there a big Andy coaching gap? I say no. I don't think the coaching gap is as wide as people think.
I don't think it's as wide as people think either, because I think that there's value in not having experience as well, right? Like I think the story of Sirianni is like he doesn't know he's not supposed to be there. So he's kind of like a little more aggressive than, a more veteran coach would be, which I think is a good thing. And, we'll have to see. But what I like about, the Eagles staff in general, it's pretty solid across the board. Like everybody's getting, everybody's phone's ringing for head coaching jobs. Gannon, Steichen, like they all want a piece of them. So, I think overall it's 2 good coaching staffs. It's probably a wash. I think the Eagles are more aggressive. Yep. I think, Reed's probably more, schematically superior. But, I think it's going to ultimately come down to the players on the field. When we look at the total, now you said you have it right on 51. I think it's going to be under. I think it's going to fall slightly under. Real quickly, why I see it that way is I just think both teams are going to have to kind of move down the field a little bit at a time. Both defenses really good at stopping explosive pass plays. Both in the top 8, Eagles top 6, Kansas City 8th in limiting explosive pass plays. So I think, you're going to have to see these guys earn it down the field. And that's where I think the Eagles defense kind of steps in, because the more plays that they're out there, the more time of possession's getting chewed up, the more opportunity there is for Hassan Reddick to get home, for the Eagles pass rush to get home. And I think it'll be a lot of underneath stuff for KC and a lot of running from the Eagles. And that's going to keep the ball rolling the clock rolling on both sides.
I like it. I lean under as well, even though I'm putting it right on the number. That could go either way, but I lean more under. This is not 41-33. I don't feel like it's Eagles Patriots all over again. Really, the last four Super Bowls should have gone under. I think the one that didn't was the Niners Chiefs, because of 21 points in 5 minutes. Otherwise, these games are played a little tighter. So I'm with you. I lean under. I would let this game keep juicing up, though. I think you're going to keep seeing with the weather, with the reports. I think we might see 51.5, 52 by game time, and then now pounce on it.
Yeah, I think so too. It makes a ton of sense. And, one more thing before we move on to MVP. The Chiefs 7-11-1 against the spread, right? 5 teams had losing records and went into the Super Bowl in the past. 4 of them lost. So those teams with losing against the spread records are 1-4. Take that for what it is. They're the 6th team. Only one team has done it previously. But to me, it just kind of highlights that you pay a tax with Mahomes because he's so incredibly superior as an athlete. And, he's probably the most talented quarterback we've seen step on the football field. Definitely on the trajectory to be the greatest of all time. But, you pay a tax with that. You know what I mean? Like, so the market, gravitates towards that. I think you're seeing that here, which makes it kind of like a small number with Philadelphia, because people just think if it's going to be close, Mahomes is going to find a way. But I've seen enough of these Super Bowls to where, the defense and really the team that dominates in the trenches gets the job done. So I'm on the Eagles here for MVP. I did play some Miles Sanders. I had some AJ Brown at 35-1 before the conference championships. I added some Miles Sanders on there at 25-1. I think, again, the rushing game is the catalyst for the Eagles' success. He's going to have to be the catalyst there. That's how they're going to win this game. So he's going to be the main beneficiary. Any thoughts on MVP?
Yeah, I played a few. I do like Hurts, and I know, from the long game, that's probably not going to be like the most, popular. People want to take the long shots, but I realize that in this kind of scenario, I really do love Hurts in this position to be the MVP. I just think he's going to take Will's team to victory. But if I'm going to take a guy outside the quarterback, I'm looking strictly at Devontae Smith. Listen, I understand the stories, but AJ Brown, they've said it all week, 1A, Devontae's 1B. And you're getting a little bit more of a discount with Devontae, and a guy that sit there and played in big games like this before, played in the national championship game, won the Heisman, recently came out and said, I'm built for games like this. I like Devontae, and I will take a shot. I know a lot of people are juicing down the Hassan Reddick line, so I'm going to go backwards and take a little bit of Darius Slay. I think if Reddick can get in there and make some type of crazy play that lets up a ball for Darius, big play, I should call him, I'm sorry, that he could take one back at 60-1. Remember Malcolm Smith, Seattle Seahawks? Interception return for a touchdown was the reason he got MVP. He did end up with a fumble recovery too, but I think one of those pick sixes in a key spot, 60-1 ain't bad.
Yeah, and one thing to think of, in regards to Hurts, and again, I think if everything is equal, I think Hurts probably has the best chance to win, but you're not getting that value in the market with Hurts, right? So you're the odds don't imply it, but I think the story, like if it's close, I do think the voters, these are human beings, are going to gravitate towards the story of Jalen Hurts gets benched in the national championship, overcomes adversity, makes it to the NFL, gets drafted in the second round as a backup, overcomes adversity, gets to the Super Bowl at such a young age, beats Patrick Mahomes, right? Wins MVP. That's a fantastic story. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's close, if it does go to Hurts. I just think Miles could have a monster game, but like I said, it could be anyone across the board on the Eagles. Take your pick, get some value there. Chiefs side, probably Mahomes and Kelsey. Here we go. He's taking Mahomes for the win. Betting public will be all over the Eagles. Big heartbreak. It's not in the script for the Eagles, friends. Yeah, listen. Hey, listen. I get it. Two good teams. You know what I mean? Not gonna take anything away from that. I just think this one gets done in the trenches. So it'll be an interesting game for sure.
Drums, I did a show last night with New York people, both picked the Chiefs. I've done another show recently where I was on national radio and it was all Chiefs. I wear an Eagles hat to a show like this. Everybody's going to pick the Chiefs. So I get it. I totally get it. Like, it's just when people say everybody's picking the Eagles, I'd be a little
the line
wouldn't
sit. Yeah, the line would move if everyone was picking the Eagles. We saw the initial line move when Kansas City was initially opened as a favorite. The betting public spoke early, kind of moved it over to the Eagles side. But yeah, seeing a lot of people I respect on the Chiefs.
Yes.
A lot of people I respect on the Eagles. I do think the general public, though, kind of like gravitated towards that initial line move. Like, they saw that line move and they're like, something's got to be up. Eagles got to be better, right? You'll see that lately, with the public sometimes, but
I think lately public back on the Chiefs. Like, I really think they're back on the Chiefs.
I think so too. Yeah. But listen, two great teams.
They are
going to be a ton of fun. Let's hit a couple props on our way out. I'm going to give you two I like real quick. Eagle first scoring play, Eagles rushing touchdown plus 400. I played that one. I absolutely love it because I think the Eagles start fast. Like I said, they've scored on 10 touchdowns on 10 of 19 of their first drives. Against this Kansas City defense that's rough in the red zone. They get in that red zone. They're gonna run the ball. I like them there. Also like AJ Brown, anytime touchdown. Took it at plus 120. I think that's a solid one when you look at Kansas City's secondary, full of young corners. They play press coverage. Second most in the NFL. You're not pressing AJ Brown. I don't know if you ever seen him do, but he's got, he's going to throw those corners halfway across the field and just trot to the middle of the field. So I think he's going to have a big day. He's going to be open when they need him in high leverage situations. I think that includes the red zone. So I like AJ Brown plus 120. Any props catch your eye, Dave?
Well, I'm going to just piggyback what you just said. Listen, KC 28th in the red zone, pass defense. 20th overall DVOA, pass defense. I like Dallas Goedert. They're 19th against tight ends. Anytime touchdown, Dallas Goedert plus 150. I'm just looking at where you're at, and I do like AJ Brown to score as well, but they're going to score in the red zone, and they're going to score passing the ball. And I think Dallas Goedert's going to be the recipient of that. So anytime touchdown plus 150. And I'm going to double up on that and say Jalen Hurts throws for over 1.5 touchdowns. The other day, I got it at plus 100. It's moved to about minus 105, minus 110. I do think he throws 2 in this game. He threw 2 in the Giants game, don't forget, versus the team that was trying to stuff the run. Couldn't stuff the run, but they still found a way to throw 2 early to Goddard and Devontae Smith. And then lastly, listen, one of these, like, it's not crazy, but I really like one team to score a 2-point conversion in this game. We've talked about before, Harrison Butker, not very good with extra points. Jake Elliott missed one in Super Bowl 52 in a dome. Not saying they'll miss one here, but with these teams and this kind of outcome and the different ways that scores can happen, at plus 200, I think anytime 2-point conversion, especially with a very aggressive coach like Sirianni, I think we can get a 2-point conversion in this Super Bowl.
I like it. Brian checking back in saying it's the amount of the money that moves the line. And that's a great point we would talk about, right? So it's not the amount of bets, but it's not just the money either. It's like, with these sports books that like they have profiles on every individual bettor. So it kind of depends on the bettor's profile and the amount of money that they're betting. Some guy off the street that's a perennial loser that, loses, 70% of his bets. He could bet $5 trillion. They're not moving the line.
Moving.
Like
they're not moving.
He could put max in 10 grand on a side. They're not moving anything because he's not a winner. So it's kind of like a combination of both, right? You have to have the right profile with that sports book, and the amount of money, they're going to respect you. They're going to feed you the lines early before they leave them out to the public, let you kind of bet into them, and that kind of shapes how they open the lines as well. But lots of good stuff there, Brian. Listen, good luck to your Chiefs, man. Don't think it's going to happen for you, but it's going to be an awesome game. Two great teams. Can definitely understand both sides here.
I do.
It's always
Yep.
tough betting against Mahomes and the Chiefs in here, but that's going to do it for us, Dave. We're running up on the 20-minute mark, but guys, we appreciate you tuning in. Tremendous season, but the winning does not stop here. Make sure you download the Sharp app, hop in the Discord. Like I said, we're going to be hitting the hardwood, top props in the NBA, college basketball, NHL hockey plays every night, everything you can imagine. We're going to be in there having fun, taking us through until the NFL draft, right? And then we start nailing the NFL draft from a betting perspective as well. So it'll be here before you know it. But everybody, enjoy the Super Bowl. Stay safe. Best of luck. Hope all your bets cash. We'll see you next time.